Hi, everyone. So I'm busy writing an article on Who Am I? That article will eventually appear in my new website, which will be opening up pretty soon, within the next week or two. So the whole question of who am I has been with me forever. It's one of the first questions I ever asked myself around 30, 40 years ago. Who am I really? And even where am I? What am I? It's not a straightforward answer to this question. And probably I will continue with this conversation for many, many months still. But anyway, how can we approach this question of who am I? And it's so strange that we all think we know who we are, but when you ask yourself, who am I? Yeah, you run out of words, you run out of ideas. And it's not a straightforward question. You can say, I'm my body, but obviously you're not your body. You can see your body, and you can work with your body, but somebody to say that I am the body doesn't make complete sense. And anyway, from a scientific point of view, we are much more than just a matter body. There's also energy information and the quantum potential. So, yeah, what is the body? The body is energy information slowed down to the point at which it becomes visible. So your body is actually energy information, just the same way as steam, when it slows down, becomes water and then becomes ice. So the body is a little bit like that. It's energy slowed down to the point at which it becomes visible. So are you your body or are you your energy? And from a scientific point of view, we now know that there's also information. So there's matter, energy, information. So am I my body, or am I my body and energy, or am I my body, energy, and information? And behind that, of course, is the quantum potential. So to start to find yourself within that quagmire of energy, information, matter is not so straightforward. Where am I in that whole space? And you can see how difficult it is for science even. I mean, how do you get hold of this person? We could say, oh, the person's in the brain, but obviously the brain is also just energy information slowed down to the point at which it becomes visible. So we clearly are not just the brain. There's mind, and mind is much closer to the idea of energy information. So, so the whole question again then of where am I? And where can I find myself? I mean, the problem with energy information is that it's not like matter where you can grab it. It's more like a whirlpool or a tornado. You can't actually grab them. They are energy information flow with matter, but you can't grab it. You can't take it out of the water or out of the air and examine it. So human beings are much closer to something like a whirlpool rather than a rock. We are energy information in movement, dynamic movement, appearing and disappearing eventually. So we are much more fluid. But then the question is, in saying that I am much more fluid, like where am I? I mean, you can't find me in energy. Nobody has done that. There is energy. But am I inside the energy or am I the energy? It's not so clear at all. Well, and then there's the informational part. So am I the information or am I the energy or am I the matter? And a good way to think about it for me is to think of my television screen. So you've got a television screen, but it's nothing happening unless you can connect it to an electrical system. And in that electrical system, we have energy flowing. Along the wire, there's energy flowing. And the energy is carrying information. And that energy information, when it's switched on to flow, then there's an appearance on the screen. So without the information, there would be no picture. There'd be just energy flowing, and you just see that the TV screen is on. then energy, then information flows, and then pictures appear. So are we like, am I like a television screen with energy information? The TV screen is my body, and then there's energy information flowing to create the screen. So then the next question comes up, but where's this information coming from? It's appearing on the screen. And, well, we know there's a broadcasting station. So now we can add the broadcasting station. And the broadcasting station is where all the people are, whatever they're doing, and all that is flowing along the cable information, and then it appears on the screen. So now we can say, well, who am I? Well, yeah, that's so interesting then, because if we start to go to source, then we come to the broadcasting station. And the broadcasting station is complex, eh? There are lots of people working there. There's a director, and there's actors, and there's all kinds of people that are needed for that. So it actually starts to make more sense to me to say that, yeah, so there is this background of in the broadcasting station, there's a whole bunch of people. There are some people that are more intellectual and think, and then there's the emotional people, and then there are people who are very strongly with feeling, and all this group are putting together a structure which flows onto the screen. So it's quite useful to think of oneself as the broadcasting station. And there are, in the broadcasting station, there, as I said, there are people who have a much more intellectual understanding of things, and they're emotional, and then they're feeling part. So we have that. All of us have that. But there's some people who are the more intellectual side of the broadcasting station, and they're very rational, feet on the ground. And we know people like that. And then there are people who are very emotional, where it's not that they don't have thinking capacities, but they tend to be centered more in their emotional being. And then there are people more in their feeling side. So that's the way I begin to think of this question of who am I? There is energy information and there's matter, and they're not who I am. They are the apparatus, the tools that the broadcasting station uses in order to allow something to appear on the screen. But the people in the broadcasting station are diverse. And I think inside me, I have all those different qualities. I have the thinking, I have emotions, I have feeling, and all that. And that's what makes up who I am. And then I stream that down through my energy informational processes to appear on the body. And what you're seeing in the body, all these expressions that you see are the manifestation of what's originating in the broadcasting station. You could say that I am the broadcasting station, and all the rest are functionalities that I use, which is quite interesting for me to recognize that what I'm seeing in the body is the outward reflection of a whole range of things that are going on, very much like, as I said, the broadcasting station, the TV screen. But I'm not the TV screen. So don't be fooled by what appears. You're not seeing the fullness of who I am. That's kind of subjective, hidden inside. But we need to talk about it more because it's such a delicious topic. Speak to you again.